Talking about Iowa means talking about flat landscapes dominated by cornfields, soybeans, and John Deere tractors moving slowly beneath the horizon. These are the geographic traits of the Midwest, a region often seen as monotonous. But beyond its main role as a pillar of food security, did you know that the Hawkeye State is home to some very strange collective identities? Several small towns in Iowa present architectural anomalies, cultural obsessions with giant objects, and even science fiction claims adopted as local historical fact. This complexity of weirdness creates a unique social landscape where the line between rural reality and human eccentricity becomes very blurred. First, if you drive to the far eastern edge of Jackson County, a geographic anomaly will immediately greet you. The town of Sabula, a place that feels almost impossible for an inland state. This is Iowa's only island city, a narrow piece of land with around 500 residents completely surrounded by the fast-moving Mississippi River. Here, you may feel as if you are standing on the deck of a giant wooden tanker stranded in the middle of the water, connected to the outside world only by two narrow bridges that often make out-of-town drivers hold their breath while crossing. Sabula was originally an ordinary peninsula before the construction of Lock and Dam No. 13 by the United States Army Corps of Engineers in the 1930s flooded the surrounding lowlands and turned it into a man-made island. Local residents have adapted to living under the constant threat of major flooding, yet they refuse to move and instead build an eccentric communal culture. Here, people's backyards sit directly beside tugboat docks, and daily views are filled with thick river fog that often swallows rows of old wooden homes, creating a strange dystopian atmosphere in the middle of Iowa. From an isolated river island in the east, we move to a small town that celebrates the birth of a man who has not even been born yet. Riverside, a farming settlement with a population of around 1,000 people, officially proclaims itself the future birthplace of Captain James T. Kirk, the iconic fictional character from the Star Trek franchise. This oddity began in 1985, when the town council read the autobiography of Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry, which mentioned that Captain Kirk would be born in a small town in Iowa on March 22, 2233. So, do not be surprised if you find an official bronze plaque set beneath a table inside a local barber shop, marking the exact coordinates where Kirk will be born 2 centuries from now. Every summer, Riverside holds Trek Fest, where farm tractors are decorated to resemble the USS Enterprise, and local residents walk around wearing Starfleet uniforms with the most serious expressions they can manage. Meanwhile, an equally strange character lives in a town called Eldon, which celebrates itself through a piece of architecture that became the backdrop for America's most satirical painting. This town of fewer than 1,000 people contains a small wooden house in rural Gothic style, with a medieval-style arched window on its upper floor. This house inspired Grant Wood in 1930 to paint American Gothic, the masterpiece showing a stern-faced farming couple holding a pitchfork, now a symbol of both toughness and rigidity in Midwestern society. Life here practically revolves around that house. Now managed as an interactive historic site, the community of Eldon consciously preserves this 20th century gloomy aesthetic as its main commodity, creating a strange contrast, between the real friendliness of local residents and their obsession with looking as stiff as possible in tourist photos. But if Eldon is obsessed with preserving one corner of American domestic architecture, Elkhorn imports an entire piece of northern European landscape directly into the middle of cornfields. With a population of around 600 people, Elkhorn is known as America's Denmark. You can find a majestic original wooden windmill, about 18 meters tall, standing right beside the main road. Uniquely, this windmill is not a replica. Elkhorn residents actually bought it directly from the town of Nøre Snede in Denmark back in 1975, dismantled it into tens of thousands of numbered wooden pieces, carried it across the Atlantic Ocean, and then, reassembled it by hand in Iowa. Walking through downtown honestly feels like geographic disorientation. Street signs are written in Danish, and local restaurants serve abelskiver instead of the standard cheeseburgers you might expect. The community lives in this kind of strange cultural duality, celebrating Tivoli Fest while wearing old Scandinavian traditional clothing and still operating these large modern corn harvesters. Stanton, which is a small town whose buildings are painted with these Scandinavian-style white and blue accents, actually holds a pretty strange title because of its city water tower shaped like a giant coffee pot, complete with a cup floating in the air. This massive structure can hold tens of thousands of gallons of water, and it was built as a tribute to Virginia Christine, a Stanton-born actress who was famous as the advertising star for a legendary mid-20th century American coffee brand. Stanton residents kind of joke that if the water tower were actually filled with hot coffee, the entire population of Iowa would not run out of caffeine for a full decade. This odd aesthetic even spreads to streetlights shaped like small coffee cups and, honestly, the rich smell of Swedish cardamom tart from the local bakery. Stanton turns the utilitarian function of public infrastructure into a pop art installation that just demands attention from miles away, proving that the best way to honor a local hero is by building giant kitchenware on a hill. The sense of awe towards Stanton's giant structure, it kind of turns into a strange spiritual experience in this town. This is West Bend, home to the most colossal stone mosaic in the Western Hemisphere. On its edge stands the Grotto of the Redemption, a massive religious architectural complex built entirely from millions of pieces of gemstones, crystals, fossils, and ancient seashells. This multi-million-dollar complex was the hard work of one man, a German immigrant priest named Paul Dauberstein, who spent 54 years of his life collecting and attaching those stones one by one starting in 1912. Reportedly, Dauberstein built this stone labyrinth to fulfill a sacred promise to the Virgin Mary after he recovered from deadly pneumonia in his youth. The result is a strange structure weighing thousands of tons, giving off an unusual sparkle under sunlight and showing detailed biblical underground cave ornaments that look, honestly, pretty foreign in Iowa's farming landscape. From the wonder of precious stones, we move to Tama County, where there is a town that tells its weirdness through stubborn survival. Chelsea is a small settlement with fewer than 300 people located exactly where the Iowa River and Salt Creek meet. This geographic location has cursed Chelsea into becoming one of the most frequently flooded towns in the United States, with a history of major flash floods hitting the settlement almost every few years without mercy. Strangely, instead of emptying the area and claiming government insurance money to move to higher ground, residents choose to stay in their wooden stilt homes with a toughness that nearly reaches absurd stubbornness. Uniquely, the interior of a local downtown bar is filled with black lines on the walls, marking the floodwater levels from 1993-2008, and the most recent major flood displayed like trophies rather than disaster records. Next is Villisca, a quiet town with fewer than 1,000 people. Its silence feels even stranger once you know the story behind it. On June 10th, 1912, during that hellish night, a mysterious killer slipped into a white wooden house downtown, used an axe, and slaughtered 8 sleeping people, including 6 children from the Moore family, before disappearing without a trace into the darkness of rural Iowa. And yes, the Villisca axe murder case has never been solved by police to this day, leaving behind social trauma and an empty house now known worldwide as the Villisca Axe Murder House. The house is preserved in its original condition without electricity or running water, and the town council has commercialized it as an expensive paranormal tourism site. Many people are willing to pay hundreds of dollars just to sleep on the floor where the massacre happened. Sure enough, the RN Villisca feels deeply oppressive. It seems unwilling to move forward from 1912, and its quiet streets in the afternoon seem to whisper old secrets deliberately buried by the town's ancestors. Leaving the heavy atmosphere of Villisca, we now move to a weirdness that shines directly from its given name. What exactly comes to mind when you read this town's name? It is said to come from an old 16th century English greeting phrase proposed by an eccentric general store owner named Peter Britton in 1879 when the town officially opened its first post office. The town once saw its population surge into the thousands when the coal veins beneath it were actively exploited, making it one of the noisiest towns in southern Iowa. Today, the contrast between its cheerful name and its quiet post-industrial reality creates a strong sense of ironic humor. Walking along its main street reveals fading Victorian architecture, where the only excitement left is its antique flea market. Truly ironic. Meanwhile, the town of Audubon expresses its agricultural pride in an equally strange way, through a massive animal monument. Known as Albert the Bull, it's the world's largest Hereford bull statue, standing proudly in a city park since 1964. Albert is 30 feet tall, 33 feet long, and weighs about 50 tons of reinforced concrete, painted in striking brown and white detail, complete with these giant blue replica eyes that just kinda stare blankly toward the highway. Interestingly, the statue is equipped with an interactive audio feature, where visitors can press a button to hear a recorded narration imitating Albert's voice, telling the history of Iowa's cattle industry in a deep bass tone. Albert becomes a symbol of Midwestern humor, proving that the best way to promote a town is by building a giant talking farm animal replica. Next is LeClaire, an old Riverport town, and the birthplace of legendary Wild West adventurer Buffalo Bill. However, its modern anomaly identity is shaped instead by the operation of the antique shop Antique Archaeology, the main headquarters of the famous reality television show American Pickers. Life in this town is filled with eccentric collectors arriving from across the country to hunt for strange 19th century relics, from rusting gas station signs and junked old motorcycles to creepy antique children's toys. The town has transformed into a large open-air museum where items that would usually be thrown into a landfill are instead given $1,000 price tags and proudly displayed behind glass storefronts. From hunting junk, we head northwest to a town called Sac City. This town holds an official Guinness World Records title thanks to the largest popcorn ball on Earth displayed inside a special glass pavilion in the middle of town. This giant ball weighs an incredible 4,420 pounds, or more than 2 tons, with a diameter taller than an adult human.